again from Fired Up. I'm your host for the show, Bob Irwin, broadcasting from Rigel Studios here in Las Vegas, Nevada. This show is about guns, related politics, and self-defense. Fired Up is on my website, Fired Up with Bob Irwin, as well as the American Guns and Glory Network, YouTube, and numerous other media. If your local internet provider doesn't carry Fired Up, ask them to do that, and we'll help them that way. Just have them call Rigel. A new show is posted every Thursday around 5 p.m. Pacific time. Our audio feed is rebroadcast for radio listeners on Saturdays at noon on the Nevada Talk Network. You can check out KELY1230.com for a station in your part of Nevada. If you have questions or comments, send an email to bob@firedupmail.com. That's bob@firedupmail.com. Or leave a message on my office recorder, 702-257-1060. That's 702-257-1060. If you don't leave contact information, I can't call you back. There are several hundred defensive uses of firearms each week in the United States, rarely fully or truthfully covered by mainstream media. I always select a few for each of my listeners for their education. Most of them are good shootings. Some are questionable. Some are just plain wrong. But all are educational for those of you who keep a defensive firearm in your home or carry one for self-defense in your vehicle or on the street. Caution here is individual incidents are generally adjudicated under local law. The advice given here may not apply in the area where you live. Advice from a local gun knowledgeable defense attorney is always recommended. Stories are often paraphrased for clarity by me translating them from police jargon, what I call lawyer speak, and regional accents into more standard American English. The incidents are as reported, but the names of individuals involved are deleted. The identification of the cops, the lawyers, and the media are generally used. First up in today's show, with all the events that are going on at this moment, is politics. President Donald Trump is demanding a halt in vote counting in the presidential election. That demand to cease the vote count came in a morning tweet called "Stop the Count." He followed up with a second tweet expanding on his demand. Any vote that came in after November 3rd should not be counted. This second tweet was blocked by Twitter as disputed, and like this story will probably be blocked as I'm publishing the same information. A Fired Up with BobIrwin.com show was blocked for violent content by Facebook when we ran a video from MSNBC showing rioters lighting fires. Big Tech believes there are no violent looters, just peaceful demonstrators. So Trump's comments came as his campaign had filed legal action in at least 4 states trying to stop vote counting and instead begin recounts. Elections are run, of course, by individual state, county, and local government. The president's comments have no legal authority on the tallying of votes across the country. The left will do whatever is necessary to win. We've been talking about this for months. With less than 90 days to go until Election Day, our Governor Sisolak, and the Nevada Democrats are trying to reform Nevada's election system. They call it reform. The system they established sent every voter on the rolls a ballot whether the voter planned to vote by mail or not. It brought California-style ballot harvesting to our state, and we are seeing it now. It allows no oversight of signature verification process, no opportunity to challenge the validity of the mail-in ballots. Our former Attorney General Adam Laxalt spoke on Tucker Carlson's show about how this is affecting Nevada's election results and why Americans should be gravely concerned about. There is no excuse for denial of the right to observe the process and challenge potentially fraudulent ballots. Republican and independent poll watchers' view of the election department's counting room was blocked by the windows being covered and then moving the counting machines to the farthest end of the room. So much for open and fair elections in Clark County. We are now delaying the result by turning the election over to the courts. What else can be done? One other thing on this while we're on the subject. This morning, we had a ruling, I guess, from King Laxalt or the Attorney General or whoever at the county voting where they're doing all of this counting and blocking views and so forth. They decided to simply stop counting. I guess their people are really tired, but they just, on the demand from the Trump administration that they count all the votes, because the Trump voters tend to seem to be voting on the day of the election and are turning the ballots in the day of the election. They just decided, because they couldn't block the windows anymore, to stop counting. So as of just before this show went on the air, they have discontinued counting ballots, so we will have no local Clark County returns until at least tomorrow when they start over again. They just stopped. Isn't that great? We are being had, folks. This is a giant ripoff of what is supposed to be going on in this election. Anyway, we'll go to a regular story now. This is from WCB TV News 2, a journalist named Tim Renaud, and WCIV TV ABC News. On that side, it was a journalist named Mac Delane. Reported October 27 in Moncks Corner, South Carolina. That's M-O-N-C-K-S, how you pronounce that in South Carolina. Officials with the Berkeley County Sheriff's Office say a man was attempting to steal catalytic converters at a used car lot when the owner caught the thief and shot him in the leg. Authorities responded to the shooting that happened off Highway 52 in Moncks Corner. Deputies say there were several catalytic converters on the ground which had been already removed from some vehicles. They say the man suffered non-life-threatening injuries and was transported to an area hospital. His charges are 3 counts of larceny, breaking into this, their statute I'm reading now, folks. His charges are 3 counts of larceny, breaking into motor vehicle or tanks, pumps, where fuel, lubricant stores, and lubricants are stored, and 3 counts of malicious injury to animals, personal property, injury values of $2,000 or less. That's quite a statute. Despite the coverage from 2 local stations, there are few details available, and this sounds like a pure property crime. We all want to protect our property from thieves. The use of deadly force, gunfire, is pretty much clearly not justified in this incident. With clear observation of the thief and his getaway vehicle, there was little chance he would avoid capture. It certainly sounds like the local prosecutor is not taking this crime lightly. We've corralled this into several felonies, if you recall what I just said. So we'll go on here to the second story. KVOA TV4, a journalist named Anthony Victor Reyes, reported October 27 in 2020 in Tucson, Arizona, the occupants of a home in the 2300 block of East Caletoya de Ventura, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, near Tucson Boulevard and Bilby Road, reportedly observed a man attempting to gain entry into their vehicle from their home security video. One of the residents reportedly retrieved a firearm and then confronted the individual. Shots were fired during the confrontation, resulting in the suspect reportedly fleeing the scene in a white Jeep. TPD detectives believe a getaway driver was waiting in that white Jeep that was parked several yards away, about 80 yards they're guessing, I think. The 27-year-old car burglary suspect was found lying in the roadway next to the Jeep near a home in the 1700 block of East Holiday Street around 10:20 in the evening on Monday, the same day. Officials say he had obvious signs of gunshot trauma when police located him. Despite rendering aid and CPR, the 27-year-old was pronounced dead at the scene. The 35-year-old getaway driver was also located and detained nearby at a home in the 1700 block of East Holiday Street. He was arrested for attempt theft by means of transportation, attempted third-degree burglary, possession of burglary tools, and first-degree felony murder. He is currently being held in the Pima County Jail. The investigation is ongoing, and anyone with information is advised to call the Tucson PD at 520-882-7463. That's 520-882-7463. Comments here. This is clearly another defensive property case, but this one is much more serious. A homeowner sees the theft in progress and reacts by firing at the fleeing suspect. This would-be thief died. There are 2 points here that are major changes. The surviving perp is charged under the felony murder rule. He participated in a crime in which one of his co-conspirators died, hence the murder charge. Years in prison will result from what started as a stupid, mediocre misdemeanor crime. The second point is the fallout from this will be a huge problem for the shooter as well. I can almost hear the lawsuit lawyers panting. When a human is in danger of death or serious injury, was a human in danger of death or serious injury when the defensive shots were fired? From the reports so far, apparently not. Gunfire is the last resort, not the first reaction. If your situation allows, always let the cops handle the problem. We have one more story here before we go to a commercial break, I think. But this is from a company called ReportDoor.com. They reported October 27, 2020 in Pasadena, Maryland, a Maryland man who fatally shot a drunken, unarmed acquaintance who charged onto his property has been acquitted of murder and manslaughter charges, according to the reports. I'm using the names in this particular one because this is a very public trial. It will go on for months yet. A fellow named Gregory Korwek of Pasadena, that's in Maryland, was also acquitted of firearms charges in September 2019 shooting in the death of Jeffrey Dickinson, age 44, who drove a motor scooter to Korwek's home after threatening to burn the property down and hurt his mother-in-law. Korwek then killed Dickinson with a shotgun blast halfway down his driveway as he confronted him after telling him he wasn't welcome in his home. Korwek had previously hired Dickinson, who worked as a carpenter, for jobs at his home. He was ultimately fired. There were numerous threatening text messages in the days before this shooting. But prosecutors insisted Korwek acted too quickly to shoot Dickinson, saying deadly force is meant to be used as a last resort rather than as a first impulse. Korwek's defense attorney, an attorney named Peter O'Neill, countered during that the contractor was justified in killing Dickinson because he showed up at his house drunk and angry after threatening him. It's not authorized, the attorney said, gunfire is not authorized under these facts, then there's no right to use self-defense anywhere, he told the juror. So the guy comes out of his house, halfway down the driveway, shoots the guy who's threatening him, who's turning to run, and his defense lawyer says it's justified. The 12 jurors in the trial ultimately sided with the defendant, determining he was justified to use deadly force while acquitting him of second-degree murder or voluntary manslaughter in Dickinson's death, which was ruled a homicide. Tia Lewis, spokesman for the spokesman for the Attorney General's office, noted the statement released after Monday, the verdict that Dickinson was unarmed. She added, with respect to the jury verdict, it's a matter and hope for Mr. Dickinson's family that he finds some peace as they continue to grieve over his death. Dickinson was under the influence of alcohol when he was shot, according to the toxicology report. He also had traces of fentanyl and cocaine in his urine. Korwek, meanwhile, still faces 3 years in prison when he's sentenced in December for pleading guilty to illegally possessing the shotgun he used to kill Dickinson. When he pled guilty and made the plea deal, it involved him admitting it was his shotgun, and he's a prohibited party. A hearing is also, he's also set for trial in November for illegally possessing other firearms, including one assault rifle, despite not being allowed to have them due to his prior conviction. His defense attorney, this Peter O'Neill, insists he purchased them legally. Well, starting with the first part, the shooting in itself, this whole mess could have been avoided by simply calling 911 and staying in his house. Yell out, the police are on the way, and stay behind some hard cover. If the perp breaks in before law enforcement arrives, do what is necessary to protect yourself. If you are a prohibited person, you cannot legally purchase a firearm, period. Felons and those underage may grab a gun to defend themselves or others in an emergency, but if they bring their own gun to a planned fight, that is not legal. The issue is who's caused the two individuals to come into contact. Legally, we always say legally, that means who provided the force to bring the parties together. Clearly, the perp did in this case. We're going to take a little break here for a word from some of our friends and associates. Don't go away. We'll be right back. Freestyle Martial Arts, located at Jones and Russell here in Las Vegas. You can reach them at 702-551-9009. That's 702-551-9009. CCS Gunsmithing. Chris Eifelt, the man who does all the NRA help, he's at 2216 South Rainbow Boulevard near Sahara. He can be reached at 702-365-1732. Once again, 702-365-1732. Jerry Creed, a trust attorney. If you have a firearms trust or need one, this is your guy. You can reach Jerry at 702-806-7777. That is 702-806-7777. CCW Maggie is found all over the internet. You can reach her by phone at 702-375-5900. That's 702-375-5900. All sorts of firearms training, ladies only classes. She is the best of the best. Call CCW Maggie. My latest book, Self-Defense with Firearms, Use of Force in Nevada, is now available on Amazon Kindle for $4.95. You can download it now. It contains examples of dozens of shootings and pointing a firearm cases that I personally experienced in my 24 years in law enforcement, or where I testified in court or deposition as a firearm and use of force expert. The book is about the use of firearms in defense of yourself and others in my home state of Nevada. I have appeared as an expert witness in Nevada courts dozens of times, and that experience has shown me the necessity of putting pen to paper once again. Nevada state law as printed can be misleading to those of you who read it, as it is written in legal jargon, what I usually call lawyer speak. These statutes are also bent or even broken by the courts in their everyday decisions that we generally call case law. Those are rulings that say this or that statute does not apply in a particular incident and similar cases. That causes the law you are depending on when you make a decision to use your firearm only partially or not apply at all to your actions. Relevant Nevada statute numbers are included here and there, so readers may look up current wording on the Nevada State website. Teaching firearms in 28 law enforcement academies, including cadets from 26 different Nevada agencies, personally instructing over 30,000 concealed firearm permit students and 20,000 private security officers, I've discovered a lot of commonalities in deadly force incidents. Less than 100 pages, this book offers advice that can save lives and costs of expensive defense lawyers to reduce your losses in the inevitable civil lawsuits that follow these incidents. Get a copy, learn how to avoid, prepare for, and react to life-threatening situations. And we are back. This fourth story comes to us. This one is really a tragedy, but it comes from WIAT TV4. It's a CBS affiliate. Isn't that a cute call sign? Their name is Wait For. Cute. Anyway, the journalist's name is Phil Pintarski. Reported November 1st, 2020 in Clay, Alabama, an incident shortly after 2 in the morning in the 5900 block of Debbie Drive, according to the Jefferson County Sheriff's Office. Officials say, there's a child involved here. Officials say the child was dropped off at the residence early Sunday morning. The parents heard the garage door open and her stepfather grabbed a firearm and went to investigate. After the stepfather encountered the 15-year-old, he accidentally shot her in the abdomen. The victim was transported to Children's Hospital for treatment. The Jefferson County Sheriff's Office is currently investigating the incident. Pretty quick, pretty straightforward. Comments are verbal warnings, verbal warnings, verbal warnings. Most often when someone enters your home in the middle of the night, it is not a criminal intruder. It may be an inebriated neighbor on the wrong block, a lost child looking for help, a stranded motorist with a dead cell phone, or a household member returning from a walk. Try to stay behind hard cover and you issue loud verbal warnings to separate friend from foe. Because it might be a criminal, use a warning that allows him to run rather than surrender. Get out of here now, the police are on the way, rather than get on the ground now, as your opponent may be a serious criminal with previous crimes. He'd rather die than go back to prison. Use a warning that's appropriate, but use warnings that allow them to run. This incident is horrible. This guy killed his own stepdaughter, and everybody lost, as in most gunfights, everybody loses. A couple of notes here at the end. This week, the SHOT Show, the large trade show sponsored by the gun industry, the National Shooting Sports Foundation, that is usually in Las Vegas and draws 50, 60,000 people. And everybody who ever met me asking me for a free pass, which I can't get, it's canceled. It's a hands-on type show. They just really couldn't do it online. And also the fireworks on New Year's Eve on the Strip is canceled, are canceled. The Union Plaza announced they're going to have a little show of their own at the end of Fremont Street or on the roof of their hotel. Apparently they're going to do that. They just announced it. I don't know if the county or the city has weighed in yet on allowing that, but we will have smaller fireworks shows here and there. Anyway, those two things are bad. We've got a big worry on this election. If Joe Biden wins, we're all toast. You know that. So there's nothing more anybody can do about it now but wait. You can check out my recent shows at firedupwithboberwin.com. It contains several dozen episodes. Please patronize our friends and supporters. I'll be back next Thursday on my website, firedupwithboberwin.com, the American Guns and Glory Network, and numerous other websites, television, and radio stations. When watching any media, just click on subscribe, and new shows will be sent to your phone or computer automatically. My logo merchandise, mostly books, but a few hats and shirts, are available at Battlefield Vegas, just behind Circus Circus on the Las Vegas Strip. If you're ever in Las Vegas, Battlefield Vegas is a must-see attraction. You can shoot a minigun or any of hundreds of firearms, or even crush a car with an Abrams tank at their associated outdoor facility. Transportation is provided. You can contact them at info@battlefieldvegas.com. Thank you so much for watching Fired Up. Stay safe. We'll be back next week.